I'm Bambi Francisco with Vader News, and I'm speaking with Jen Polka. She's General Manager and Co-Chair of Web 2.0 Expo. Jen, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the Web 2.0 Expo is coming up. It's going to be, what, April 1st through 2nd?
Yeah, April 1st through 3rd at Moscone West.
April 1st through 3rd, and you know, let's just start off with a sort of a general question about conferences, the appetite for conferences. We're living through really tough times, and the budgets are tightening. So, what are you seeing as you put this together? Has it been a tough time to get to draw draw a crowd to this conference?
Well, we'll see. Obviously, we've got a couple more weeks, but right now we're seeing a pretty minimal downturn in this event. It's looking like it'll be maybe about 20% down from the previous year. And last year was a big boom year for us. I think the dynamics that are supporting that kind of attendance, which I think is still pretty healthy, are that there have been a lot of events. I mean, people in the last couple of years, the boom in social media, the boom in the Web 2.0 industry has meant that there's been really a conference every week, and there's been a lot of opportunities for people to get together, and I think that's great for the growth of the industry overall. I've been on a nonstop conference schedule for the past couple of years, but when budgets contract and people really have to make choices, they're looking for an event that has you know, a broad footprint, as we do. Web 2.0 Expo really gets the entire ecosystem of the web industry, right? So it's developers, it's entrepreneurs, it's designers, it's VCs, it's, you know, the people making the decisions, wanting to connect with the people who have new products, and it's also enterprises that have been looking at moving to Web 2.0 tools for the past couple of years, and they've, you know, interested in them, but of course there's roadblocks. Well, when you have very little budget, suddenly those roadblocks start to go away. So those companies that have been looking at making the move will be forced to in this economy, and that means this is a really good event for them. So what I think we're finding is that people are needing to choose one or two events that they can go to, and I'm happy to see that a lot of people are choosing to go to Web 2.0 Expo this year.
That's great. So when you say you have potentially a 20% decline, we're talking about a decline in attendance, correct? And so what's your expectation of how many people will be attending and how many sponsors you'll be getting?
We're guessing about 7,000 to 8,000 this year.
Okay.
And you know, I don't have a crystal ball, so you know, I always just like to remind people we don't know how many people will be there.
Sure.
But I think it will still be sort of the right size for this industry and have the right people there. People who are really serious about doing deals, buying new technology.
How many people exhibiting?
Last year we had about 150 companies exhibiting, and I think this year will be down in the 130 range, something like that.
Okay, so 130 exhibitors, 7,000 to 8,000 attendees. That's your guess, your best guess. What about in terms of how much they're paying? What are the prices given the economic downturn? Are you going to be lowering the prices for people to get in as attendees?
Right. We've done a lot of specials, and they've worked for us really well.
Okay.
We know that people can't afford to attend in the way that they have in the past, and so for Inauguration Day we offered 44% off in honor of our 44th president.
Okay.
We haven't dropped our prices on the exhibitor side as much. In fact, I really don't think we have. We've tried to communicate the value of what we're offering. Our prices, you know, retail prices for attendees really are the same. It's just that we've offered some interesting specials to get people's attention.
So, you can't just, you know, rent a place, the Moscone Center, and say, okay, here, you know, give us some money, put up your booths, and all right, come in attendees and meet other people. I guess you have to also, you're an organizer of this event, so you create themes around the event. So what are some of the themes that you're working on? And
our main theme is the power of less. And this really came about, ironically, we started our New York show last year. We brought Web 2.0 Expo to New York in the middle of September, which means we landed in New York on the day that the stock market crashed.
Oh.
You know, the first really big decline in that middle of September. And at that point...
That's memorable.
It was memorable. I felt bad, like the New Yorkers would associate us with this decline.
It's kind of ominous.
It was actually a wonderful event despite that. There was an enormous feeling of gratitude for having brought the event to New York, because of course, you know how the the focus in terms of entrepreneurialism and Silicon Valley and Web 2 is really out here, and New York gets a little shortchanged in the reputation department there. But at that point, we already had our marketing campaign for the Web 2 Expo San Francisco done, and we looked around and we said, that's going to have to change. We're really going to need to be relevant to this audience, and we're going to have to speak to their concerns in order to articulate why you would come to a conference in this economic environment. But the power of less to us means, on the most obvious level, people have less budget. And I don't just mean for conferences. They have less budget for marketing, for development. They are hiring fewer people, or they've laid people off. You know, that is obviously traditionally seen as a really big negative. Well, it can also be, in a weird way, positive. It can, as I said earlier, drive you to make the changes that you really should have been making anyway. Get rid of big old legacy systems and go for something lightweight that's easier to use and doesn't need a bunch of IT people to maintain. It can mean on your marketing budget, you know, everyone says, half of my marketing budget is wasted, I just don't know which one, which half. Well, the web has evolved to the place where we really can measure these things, and if you're sophisticated about tracking your marketing efforts, you can find out which half is wasted, and this is the year that you'll need to cut that. So we're telling people that you can come and learn about the new set of analytics, the new ways to measure your marketing efforts that jibe with a 2.0 marketing plan and figure that out. So, you know, if these are the changes that are foremost in your mind when you're going into this year of less, we think we can help you manage that less and not just, you know, make it through, but actually create positive change in your organization around having less, where you come out of this stronger. And the other way that it really makes sense is in terms of business models. Look at all the companies that are sort of foundational to Web 2.0. Pretty much all of them in some way have been founded on the idea of offering less, whether it's less features, you know, less clutter, the design sense, but then providing more. I mean, Twitter is a great example. You know, if you told someone years ago what Twitter was, they would have said, well, there's nothing there. Well, the fact that it is so constrained is what makes it powerful. And, you know, we strongly believe that constraints are what drives creativity, and this is a year where that will really come out.
Constraints, yes. Jack Dorsey would definitely endorse that. He loves that. Constraints are a huge driver of his vision, actually, and the way he lives his life, I believe.
And we're all starting to do that. We're all starting to live with constraints and finding how they make our lives better.
And strong startup presence there, or are there going to be investors there or media? What's the makeup of the attendees?
We've had a traditionally very strong startup presence. I think we will again this year. Certainly there are startups that were around last year that unfortunately won't be with us this year. But what will those people do? Well, you know, the people who've left those startups, if they didn't make it, hopefully they'll be looking at a new model, a new startup, going maybe a little leaner than they did the last time. There's a real evolution, I think, in the sense of the Valley of what business models are sustainable, and a very vibrant discussion around what the new business models will be. And one thing we're looking at particularly, which I don't know if you've heard about this sort of in the Valley recently, is that there's, for startups that, say, potentially had an advertising business model that didn't work out for them, but they're providing a great service, is there a way for them to tap into the enthusiasm around the public sector right now, around the change in our government, and work with governments and build business models around that? So
you'll have those discussions, and when you'll have workshops talking about that.
Yeah,
so
we're adding a little track called Government 2.0.
Okay.
Wow. It's something we're enthusiastic about, and hope that we can get entrepreneurs enthusiastic about looking at government business models, because it's been very difficult to work with the government. That's changing.
And you're going to make it, you're going to try to at least give some direction and guidance about how you can do that.
Yes, we are.
Okay, Jen Polka, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll direct people to go to the Web 2.0 Expo website?
Yes, sf.web2expo.com.
SF, I can't repeat that, but we will help be on our site as well. Jen Polka, thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot,
I've been speaking with Jen Polka. She's General Manager and Co-Chair of the Web 2.0 Expo. I'm Bambi Francisco.